What's up, Samurai? We are back with more Trove, and today we're going to be talking about the new event, which is the Green Game Jam 23, which is essentially a clean the ocean type of thing, or Green Earth Day or something. But oddly enough, this event lasts an entire month. That's the longest that I recall us ever having an event last. Like, usually they only last a couple weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, but a full month? I don't know, man. Like, as much as I love Trove, it feels like they're really starting to drag out the content. Now, I really hope that it's because the summer update that's coming is just that big and they're pouring all their resources into that update. And so they're just giving us these lackluster events and so on and so forth. Now, the funny thing is that with this event, you'll actually be able to get the aspect that we're about to talk about in this tutorial. You'll be able to get the event done in 10 minutes. It's the shortest event ever. If you want to end up getting all the items out of the event, however, you're gonna have a pretty tough time. The funny thing is that this is the first event that is giving you the option of either slowly grinding out all of the items over the course of every day, because it's very time gated, or you can spend like 10 times the resources to get the entire event done right now, which I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm not going to spend all my resources. It's kind of a beginner's trap. There is a new store pack as well that we'll kind of briefly talk about later today, but without further ado, they want you to go to Fey Forest and collect some salty trash from some dungeons. More particularly, the dungeon chests will end up dropping this resource. And essentially that's going to end up being the first part of the event. You don't end up getting any rewards for it because most of all, okay, that's funny. I'm going to take a screenshot of that actually, because most of all, there's going to end up being the rest of the event, which is to interact with the Recyclic Recombobulator. This is a terrible biome generation. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, I got a little bit of a journey ahead of me. Okay, so on the map, you'll see like these things, you know, the spawners sections, but there are some of them that'll show up on the map. It looks like that guy might be over by one. It is essentially going to end up being the special crafting table for the event. So let me see if, is this one over here? Yeah, it looks like this is one. You can usually tell because you'll see one of these icons on the map, but you won't see a beacon coming out of the top of it. So it wants you to interact with this crafting table, and then that'll complete the next part of the event. And then they want you to acquire Tidal Treasure. So essentially, if you got enough salty trash, you can spend cupcakes and bleached bone to craft Cruft Cake, which is essentially going to operate the same as throwing a bomb down. And if you end up seeing one of these NPCs, you'll notice that he actually won't interact with us right now because he's hungry. So we'll throw the cupcake at him, then you can interact with him, and then you'll be able to craft a limited amount of Tidal Treasure out of all these various resources before he gets hungry again, and then you can throw another bomb at him, and then it'll end up just making him not hungry. But anyways, all it wants you to do is basically craft one of these, and that'll complete the next part of the quest line. And then they want you to mount the 6-pack or Majestica. So looking over at the crafting table here, you can see in the garbage collection, there's going to end up being the 6-pack mount, which is pretty affordable, generally speaking. And then there's the Majestica mount, which is a lot more expensive. You can see that primarily we're going to be going for these two. You know, I'll kind of tell you a little bit more about what all of these do, but essentially you'll end up getting this mount. This is going to end up being the first one that you'll go for just because it's so much cheaper. And all you gotta do is just equip it and go on it, and then it'll end up completing that part of the quest. Then they want you to collect salty treasure. Now, in the Treasure Isles biome, which is essentially the ocean that has the sail, like the ship turning steering wheel icon, you're going to notice these things right here, this kind of like bulk of junk, right? But on this turtle, if you end up using your primary attack, you can destroy it, and then that's going to end up giving you some salty trash. So that's what they want you to do, is collect some salty trash. Then you gotta collect 100 of it, and then you complete that part of the quest line. And then it wants you to return back to the recycler And I think you just have to interact with it. It does mention in the description about, oh, there's craftable allies, but I don't think that that's a requirement of the actual quest. I could be mistaken. But once you complete that part, it's going to end up giving you title treasure. There are going to end up being a couple different options to end up getting the salty treasure. You can see someone else is already destroying all of these bad boys right here. And you'll notice, well, it's kind of janky in, you know, when we're in multiplayer, but we're getting a very limited amount of the salty treasure. Now, there is going to end up being a couple different allies you can end up crafting. Namely, Flobert is the big one you're going to want to go for, because what this guy's going to do is it's going to end up making it so that the salty treasure you earn from destroying the garbage piles, you're actually going to end up getting like quadruple the amount. Now, one thing that is very, very annoying, and I wish that they would patch it, there was actually a patch today, but it didn't seem to fix it, is that you will in fact have to actually re-equip the ally. I don't know why it's not showing up in my recently equip or anything like that, but you're gonna have to re-equip this guy every single time you end up going into a new world, which is really, really annoying. Devs, fix it, please. I think it's just because the event itself, you know, being something that you can interact with in the event with this ally, it's obviously not going to keep that feature forever. But if I destroy this one, you'll notice now we're getting 50 instead of 1 to 5. So you're getting a lot more bang for your buck. The thing that I also want to mention is that when you are interacting with those chicken dudes, it's kind of weird, but you'll notice that if you end up having a bunch of the salty trash, I'll actually be able to craft multiple items out of this guy, right? Like I can basically say, okay, I want to craft like 5 to 12 of these at a time. It's RNG. It's random. So basically, this is kind of the same as donation coins in other events, where when we craft these, for every single one of these that we craft, we have a chance of actually getting the item, which really pads out and inflates the event. It's actually very, very annoying. But whatever, at the very least, the amount of salty trash that you end up getting is astronomically higher as soon as you end up getting this ally, which is probably going to end up taking you around an hour to do so. Now, the other thing too is that this ally, Evo, is going to make it so that you can actually get the salty trash from all dungeons, which the point being is that until you have this ally, you can only get salty trash from Fey dungeons. But I have heard from a lot of you guys in my comments on the stream yesterday that this ally doesn't actually increase the amount of salty trash you get. It just makes it so that you can get it passively if you need to be grinding some other things, versus this guy where you're just getting such an astronomical high amount, which makes sense because, you know, the whole event has got to do with cleaning up the ocean, even though we're blowing up these trash containers and having the trash go all over the place. But there's going to end up being this ally for 175 of the title treasure, which is crafted from the salty treasure, and it's a random chance whether you can craft it, but whatever. And then there's going to end up being this ally, sorry, mount, which I assume is just a clean variation of the mount. It doesn't end up actually like changing the functionality at all. There is going to end up being some legacy items. I don't know how I got the sapling sour. Like, seriously, this must have just been a lot cheaper back in the day. But there's going to end up being this disgusting ally for almost half the price. It is still not worth it comparatively to all these other ones, which actually have some form of functionality. Now, I'm sorry to say that I don't actually have all of them yet. You know, all the mounts and allies and stuff like that, so I can't really show you guys, but I mean, let's face it, it's not going to end up being anything super exciting. At least it's something to grind. You know, it does give us something to do, and it's not a horrible event. It's just pretty bad until you get the ally. Now, the other thing too is that you will notice these merchants, and these guys will end up spawning on these fountains. And then for the first time that you purchase from them, there's actually going to end up being a third option, which is usually going to end up being the most bang for your buck. It's going to be a huge, huge discount for like a bunch of title treasure, right? Or you can buy 3 title treasures for cheap before having to wait for the daily reset. Yeah. Now, the other thing too is that you might notice that this guy is selling, these resources for cupcakes, which is insane. There are merchants that sell for glim and sell for other resources like bones and stuff like that. This middle costing resource is the one that I mentioned previously. So basically, it seems like the intention is, okay, go out and grind the resource, buy some of these on the daily reset, and you'll slowly end up getting all of the items out of this event over the following week or two, right? Or you could spend like 10 times more resources to just buy all the title treasure outright right now to get everything complete. But it's not worth it, just because this is 550 cupcakes for 3 title treasure at a time. 45,000 cupcakes. So again, do not fall for it. Okay, don't actually go for it. Like, the funny thing is that the devs seem to have a pretty different idea of the value of these items versus the actual player base. And I mean, in all honesty, I would say just don't buy any of this stuff because it's astronomically expensive. Even for the Glim merchant, it's really, really high value. So I would actually suggest that you just go and farm it in the ocean. Now, lastly, I do want to mention this pack right here, because I'm not going to buy it. Frankly speaking, this pack is a beginner's trap. It's a ripoff. You'll notice that similarly to that merchant selling items for in-game currency, this is another pack where the dev's idea of value is completely different from the player base. So essentially, this pack is going to give you a mount, an ally, and a mag rider. Okay, cool. That should be a really, really cheap pack. But then they pile in some chaos chests, some super style stash savers, and some dragon cash so that they can upcharge the price of this pack and make it more valuable. Now, the thing is, you're going to notice this one of 3. This is the first pack that's ever done this in Trove, where essentially they are already telling us that there's going to be 3 total recycle packs, all different from one another. And once you end up owning all 3 of them, you'll end up getting a tired traveler's boat, which is probably not going to end up being anything stupendous. But the point is that if those are going to end up being 3,000 credits each, you're essentially going to have to spend $50 just to end up getting all of these packs. And that's just not worth it. Like, the amount of items that you get in it. Like, we've already had packs that include like multiple class costumes and mounts and stuff for the same price. It seems like they were working on one of those packs and then they just kind of divided all of the items amongst 3 different packs. And then they threw in all of this garbage, because that's what this is, to make it seem like there's more value. Now, the reason why I'm saying that the devs have a different understanding of the value of these items is because 14 chaos chests, an average player knows it's basically like finding a penny on the ground. Like, it is worthless, absolutely worthless. You never get anything out of the chaos chest, and even then 14 chaos chests is probably the value of like maybe 5 credits, right? However, if we end up actually opening up the cash shop, where is the tab that has the chaos chest? You'll see right here. The game itself considers chaos chests to be a valuable commodity, and that's why they're throwing the chaos chest and all these other little crappy resources in here to inflate the value of this pack. But we all know better. We all know that this isn't worth it. Like, if this pack gave us like 50 of each of these items, or even 25 of each of them, maybe I'd recommend it. But as of right now, 14 each, like, that's not even enough to trigger karma, let alone 25 wouldn't either. You need like 60 to trigger karma. But point being, avoid this pack like the plague. It is just an absolute, get out of here. It's an absolute waste of time, waste of effort, waste of money. Don't do it, even if you end up getting some stupid boat out of it. I know that mastery farmers are probably still gonna go for it, but I'm not. Anyways, that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for watching. Smash like, stuff for more. Buy the merch you want, support the channel, and have a wonderful day. Sign on, stay epic, everybody.